You know, there used to be a time in this country where we used to value things like compassion, things like empathy. We used to be viewed in a positive light around the world because we used to offer refuge to people from across the globe. If you were somebody that was being persecuted in a South American nation, you could look at the United States as a beacon of hope. We used to help people like that, to assimilate to American life. We could help those people get back on their feet. And all of that is seemingly going away under this Trump administration. And instead, we are being governed by this cruel and fascistic politics that says, well, if you're part of the outgroup, you're just not welcome here anymore. And now you even have Donald Trump himself coming out and saying that if you're a white person from South Africa, well, then we're actually going to make an exception for you. I mean, the racism, it's just right out in the open. Here's Donald Trump defending the idea that these white Afrikaners actually deserve that refugee status. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
If I see people in distress, I don't care what color, what they look like, what anything, their size, their height, their eyes, I don't care. But I think that from all evidence, the farmers in South Africa are being treated brutally. And it's been reported, and nobody wants to cover it, but they happen to be white. And if they were black, I'd do the exact same thing. And we treat people very well when we see there's a genocide going on. So if it's a genocide, that's terrible. And I happen to believe it could very well be. So we've made a home, and we'll make a home for other people that are treated badly, no matter what their color.
So there might be a white genocide, there might not be a white genocide, but I actually think there's a white genocide, so I'm going to go ahead and offer these white Afrikaners refugee status right here in the United States, except I'm going to go ahead and shut down the refugee resettlement programs so no other people are allowed in. I mean, what is going on here, folks? This is not the America that I used to know. We have a Donald Trump who is explicitly putting forward a whites-only sort of policy, and now you've got his administration officials going out there and trying to defend this policy, making an absolute fool out of themselves. Here's Tricia McLaughlin from the State Department, I believe, or maybe Department of Homeland Security. She's just kind of getting taken to task by Victor Blackwell here, trying to defend this idea that there's actually a white genocide going on in South Africa.
Despite the president's repeated reference, can we just start this conversation by agreeing that Afrikaners are not facing genocide?
Absolutely not. First of all, I have to correct the facts, Victor. You said that no refugees were let in. Under President Donald Trump, since January 20th, 8,666 individuals have been granted asylum. Those people have faced persecution for their politics, persecution for the color of their skin, their religion, and that includes those 59 Afrikaners who came in this country last week who have faced racial violence at the hand of their own government. They've had their land seized because of the color of their skin. There's been over 140 laws enacted that are race-based and to discriminate against racial minorities. So I got to correct the facts where you're wrong, Victor, and you're wrong.
So do you see what she did there? She said, oh, well, we've had 8,666 refugees come in under Donald Trump since January, but then goes on to claim that that was actually asylum seekers, which is a completely different thing. This administration has shut down the refugee resettlement program. They've just stopped it. And then they made this exception for these white Afrikaners based on this idea that there is a white genocide going on in South Africa. The only problem with that is there has been no evidence to suggest that that is actually happening. Now, is there a problem with violence in South Africa? Yes. There's gang violence, there's other violence. Farmers are being targeted in South Africa. But because the white folks, who only make up about 9% of the population down there, because they own 72% of the land, you might assume that more white farmers would be killed than black farmers because they own most of the land. So this is just another conspiracy theory that has come from some unsavory parts of the internet, and now they are peddling it in the United States government. Donald Trump is just letting all of these conspiracies bubble up to the top, and now he is using them to make policy decisions, putting a white-first policy forward for our refugees. It is absolutely insane. Then she's asked whether or not she can provide any evidence that there is actually a genocide going on.
And so, although there is violence in South Africa, there's violence against Black South Africans too. So when the president says that there is genocide, where is the evidence? The U.S. has not recognized officially genocide. The United Nations has not recognized genocide. And for the thousands of people who you say were let into this country who've been granted asylum,
Absolutely.
I'm talking under the refugee resettlement program, which the president froze by executive order early in his administration.
Victor, can we take a pause and
Sure.
recognize the fact that you are defending race-based discrimination? You are defending race-based violence.
I'm not defending race-based discrimination in any way. The president uses the term genocide. There is no genocide in South Africa. And frankly, it does a disservice to people in countries around the world who are facing genocide in the Congo, in Sudan, those who faced it in Rwanda and Bosnia and Cambodia. So when the president says that there's genocide in South Africa, it does not exist. We should probably just start with that truth.
Okay, if you're going to allow me on your program, I'd like to speak.
So this is exactly what you see all Trump administration officials do. They get called out on their bullshit, and then they just try to attack the reporter and try to say, oh, you're just covering up for race-based discrimination? How dare you? How dare you? Let's not forget, everybody. South Africa was in apartheid up until the early 90s. And so now there are laws on the books, I believe, to try to right some wrongs of the past. Maybe some of those laws go too far. I'm not steeped in South African law. Maybe some of them do go too far. But to suggest that there is a white genocide going on because white farmers are being killed is just insane. And to put some numbers to it, over the last 3 years, less than 150 white farmers have died. And to bubble that up into some sort of conspiracy about a white genocide going on and then using that as a pretext to then offer these people refugee status is all just wonky. It's all just insane. These people, they just do not live in reality anymore. We got, the factual reality that you and I live with here on Earth. And then you've got the MAGA reality, which is built on this web of lies that Donald Trump has been spinning for over a decade now. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump was making these white genocide claims back in 2018. And now that he's surrounded himself with a whole bunch of sycophants in his government, I guess he can just carry out the most absurd things like this refugee program. Here's McLaughlin trying to say that everybody's just trying to whitewash the genocide.
It is quite frankly disturbing to me that members of the media, including people who are on this very network, are trying to whitewash the facts and whitewash the fact that these individuals have faced discrimination, racial violence, the seizure of their land based on nothing but their skin color alone. This is the United States of America, a land of opportunity, and we will help those who are facing persecution from the government of South Africa.
So you clearly are not going to acknowledge there's no genocide in South Africa. What about the genocide in the Congo? Will there be this expedited path available to the Congolese and to the Sudanese who are facing actual genocide?
Again, Victor, 8,666 individuals have been granted asylum.
You have a specific number on asylum. How many of those are from the Congo or from the Sudan?
I'm happy to come back next week and lay out all the single facts, but the fact that you have not addressed the fact that we have helped these individuals who are facing persecution, and you seem to want to whitewash the fact that South Afrikaners are facing persecution, and I can't understand why, and I think a lot of Americans can't understand why, and it's left to believe that it's because of the color of their skin, Victor.
Again, these people are insane. There is no white genocide going on in South Africa. There has been no evidence provided that the government of South Africa is persecuting these white people because they are white. Like I said, 72% of the land down there is owned by white people. There is a problem with violence down there, and therefore you are going to see more white farmers being murdered as a per capita thing to black farmers. But that doesn't mean that there is a white genocide going on. And does anybody for a second believe that Trump and his administration are going to start opening up these refugee paths for people in the Congo, people in Sudan, What about people who are being persecuted down in El Salvador or other places in the world where their skin might not look like mine? Is that really something that we think that this Trump administration is going to do, especially after they just opened this exception for white Afrikaners only? I mean, these people are absolutely sick. It is disgusting. It is anti-American. Like I said before, we used to be the place that would offer refuge to all sorts of people from around the world. This used to be our superpower as America. And now we've got the Trump administration who is not only just opening this whites only path for these South Afrikaners, but now we're even kicking out people from Afghanistan who helped us during the war. They just removed their temporary protected status and said that those deportations can start this summer. Do you think that might have anything to do with the color of their skin? Why would it be that we have people from Afghanistan who helped translate, who helped us in our efforts in the war against terrorism, people who fought and died alongside our military, and we're going to be sending those people and their families home where they for sure are going to be persecuted by the Taliban who runs Afghanistan now? I mean, none of it makes sense. When it looks racist, it just might be racist. You have Donald Trump, who's been making these claims since 2018. You've got people like Stephen Miller, just racist, fascist freaks surrounding him in the White House. And so maybe it's just racism. It's not a criticism that I levy often. I don't really like levying that sort of criticism all the time. But this just doesn't look good. It looks un-American, and it's not something I'm proud of as an American when we used to be the nation who would kind of take in all sorts of people, and it was one of the reasons that made our country great. So at least for the next 4 years or so, that doesn't appear to be the case. If you're black or brown, you're part of the out group. You're just not welcome anymore. And if you're a white South Afrikaner, well, then we're going to make an exception for you, even if you are some of the white people who experience the most privilege in South Africa. But because I have concocted in my mind this idea about a white genocide, well, come on in, baby. Come on in. Absolutely disgusting. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just kind of launders this racist type stuff in many different ways. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. It is free. And if you guys want to see how ICE raids are now getting out of control in Worcester, Massachusetts, go in and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.